Good evening. I will call the school committee on December 10th, 2025 to order. Yeah.
You guys all set?
And with that, Superintendent Ray, would you call the roll, please?
Not used to this. Amy.
Present.
Tim.
Present.
Megan.
Here.
Marie.
Here.
Mayor LaFountain.
Here.
Michelle.
Here.
Emily.
Here.
Karen.
Present.
Marcus.
Here.
Cordelia.
Here.
And Superintendent Ray present.
That brings us to the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is exciting.
Thank you. We now have a series of presentations. I'll let Superintendent Ray walk us through them.
Yes, so the first one that we have will be our chorus club from BIS. And then we'll have a second presentation. And as they're setting up, this may be a time, typically when we have singers, we'll get up from here and we'll go sit in the audience. And then we'll join us back for the second presentation.
Check. Oh, good. Good evening.
At Biddeford Intermediate School, students are allowed to join clubs. Clubs meet once a week during recess. We offer art club, gym club, Lego club, and chorus club. Our chorus club has 75 students. We are a small group of students from the chorus club, and we'd love to perform 2 short songs for you. Enjoy.
Thank you. So as Zoe said, this is a very tiny group of a much larger group. We did not want to overwhelm you, so we have 2 short songs. Thank you for listening.
Merrily go, go, singing go, hurrying,
You're gonna have a hard time topping that.
Those that you guys might enjoy just as much as that. But that was just, well, the Frosty song matched up with the weather the last couple of days, so that works out pretty good, I guess. The next presentation we have here tonight is from Julie Barabee, and we're going to be talking about adult education because Biddeford Adult Education's first teacher family literacy program was selected as one of only 3 programs nationwide to receive a $10,000 grant from the new Barbara Bush Fund for Family Literacy. And so I had an opportunity to talk with Julie just to learn more about it. And Julie really had trying to just kind of explain to me how her job came about and where it started and how it was funded. And I was pretty fascinated by the story on the fact that she's going to tell you we actually held penny raffle to fund her position back 20 plus years ago. So I was like, all right, people got to hear this story about how we did this at one point. And so I asked Julie to come here tonight to talk to the school committee about a grant and a little bit about our program.
That was a hard act to follow. I'll do my best. Good evening, school board members, Mayor LaFountain, and Superintendent Ray. Congratulations on your newly appointed positions. My name is Julie Barabee, and I am the coordinator of Biddeford Adult Education's First Teachers Family Literacy Program. I would like to share with you some very exciting news. The First Teachers Family Literacy Program has been selected as one of 3 programs nationwide to receive a $10,000 grant from the newly launched George and Barbara Bush Foundation for Family Literacy. I learned that only 3 programs across the United States were chosen to be the inaugural recipients of this foundation's support. Interestingly, I did not formally apply for this grant. Approximately about 8 months ago, Pamela Cody, who is the Senior Director of Literacy Programs and Partnerships for the Foundation in Washington, D.C., reached out to me several times over those course of 8 months. She asked extensive questions about my program and requested pictures of my literacy events. At the time, I believe she was compiling information for a national directory and did not realize she was vetting me for this significant award. Pam visited the Learning Center and hand-delivered the official letter to me yesterday. I gave her a tour of Biddeford Adult Ed and my literacy program classrooms, and we took pictures. I'm extremely grateful and honored to be receiving this grant. I have worked almost half my life providing families with literacy support. This recognition serves as a powerful affirmation of my enduring commitment to family literacy. I have been blessed to have 4 directors who supported the program and saw how beneficial it was to the families in our community. Superintendent Ray asked if I could share the timeline of the program and the longevity of it, and here I go. So back in 1999, I was hired as the child care coordinator for Biddeford Adult Ed. The First Teachers Family Literacy Program began under the MeFly grant, which is the Maine Family Literacy Initiative grant. The program was initially designed as a home visit program with parenting instruction at Biddeford Adult Ed. It wasn't as successful as they had anticipated. Families were having home visits from Head Start and CDS as well, and even though it was beneficial, they did not want more programs entering their homes. So in 2000 to 2002, my director at the time, Anita Finland, asked me to come on board as the coordinator of the Family Literacy Program. She wanted to apply for another MeFly grant and wanted to add a partnership. We had a lot of meetings and devised a plan. I wasn't sure if I would be able to create the program she had envisioned. Well, I did, and not to sound too corny, it was because she believed in me and she gave me tremendous support. This is the beginning of my partnership with York County Community Action Head Start. First Teachers provided early childhood education at 2 Biddeford sites. In 2003, we applied for another MeFly grant. BAE seeks funding to expand the current breadth and depth of its family literacy program. First Teachers, with its primary partner, Biddeford Head Start of York County. First Teachers will expand its programming to include not only families at the current Head Start site, but also families at all Biddeford sites. All 4 family literacy components will be offered to Head Start families by utilizing both Head Start and adult education facilities. The 4 components in the First Teachers Family Literacy Program are adult education, parenting education, intergenerational literacy activities, and early education. In 2004 and 2008, First Teachers Family Literacy lose funding. So, we decide to fundraise. We hold a weekend-long penny auction and book fair to raise funds to continue the program. It was very successful. It was definitely a community effort. Community businesses were extremely generous with their donations. Steve Poulis from Biddeford Public Access would videotape all the donation tables and the book fair, and he would televise it all weekend long. It was a lot of work sending out letters, making phone calls, physically picking up donations, setting up, closing down. I was lucky enough during that time to have 2 UNE interns for 2 of those 4 years. In 2009, funding for family literacy was formalized and finally became a permanent part of the local school budget. The program was successful, we had great numbers, and I knew the program wasn't going anywhere. In 2009 to now, the program is still growing strong. Over the years, the program is always changing to meet the needs of our community. With the growing number of new Mainers, I recently created an English language learning family literacy class called From Home to School. I wanted to bridge the gap from home to school and provide parents with resources to navigate the school system confidently. It's going well. In fact, I'm looking to add a second class. Now, looking ahead to 2026, I will use the grant money to expand family engagement activities that support parents and children reading, learning, and playing together, creating a new targeted resource or initiatives such as programming to support families learning together over the summer months, offer parent and education workshops, and create more classes to accommodate the needs of our community. So that is the whole timeline of Biddeford Adult Education's First Teachers Family Literacy Program. I want to add that the reason I call it the First Teachers Family Literacy Program is because Barbara Bush believed that parents are a child's first teacher. Biddeford was very fortunate to receive back-to-back MeFly literacy grants. She was very familiar with Biddeford and its needs, and the Barbara Bush Foundation for Family Literacy and the Department of Education would hold their MeFly Grant Award ceremonies at the Biddeford Adult Education site. I want to thank you for your time and would like to extend an invitation to visit my program anytime. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie, and thanks for the hard work that you've done on those grants. And I still find the penny carnival or auction thing amazing that that's how we funded a position.
Thank you. That takes us to our organizational meeting. And the first order of business, I believe, is the appointment of a vice chair. Looking for nominations. Michelle.
I would like to nominate Marie Potvin. I think she would do a great job handling any meetings when the mayor can't be here, any other kind of business that is happening. I think her experience in the school, the system will help her, and I think she'd be fantastic, so.
A motion, do we have a second? Second from Megan. Any other nominations? With that, we will take a vote for Marie Potvin as our vice chair. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you, and congratulations, Marie.
Thank you.
Next, we'll make appointments to various school committees, and you'll see the appointments made out the following. Policy, Megan Desjardins, Amy Clearwater, Michelle Landry. Finance, Marie Potvin, Karen Rule, Tim Stebbins. Curriculum, Emily Henley, Marie Potvin, Megan Desjardins. Southern Maine Administrative Collaborative, Michelle Landry, Amy Clearwater. A motion to adopt these appointments.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Chris. Thank you. Before we get to that, adjustments to the agenda, are there any? No adjustments. And looking for a approval of the last meeting minutes from November 12th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Anyone wishing to abstain? New people, right? New, yes. Okay, all those in favor? All those opposed? That passes unanimously for those members present. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. We have a motion needed for nominations, appointments, resignations, and transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Nominations, we have Elizabeth Stepien, District Human Resource Manager, replacing Michelle Bracken. Brandon Kimball for District Assistant Facilities Director. For appointments, we have Joyce Tarpey, Biddeford High School Admin Assistant School Year, replacing Tamisa Chambers. Jaden Rathburn for Biddeford Primary School EdTech 1, replacing Kaylin Nash on a 1-year leave of absence. Caitlin Connor, Biddeford Middle School EdTech 3, replacing Deborah Vadnais. Aaron Dutremble, Biddeford Middle School EdTech 3. Resignations, Tamisa Chambers, Biddeford High School Admin Assistant School Year. Abigail Town, Biddeford Primary School EdTech 2. Nisa Norris, Biddeford Primary School Custodian. Mary Bailey, FLS EdTech 3. Transfers, Maria Peralta Estrella, Biddeford Primary School Food Service Worker, replacing Amber Rue. Pedro Imbacana, Custodian to Maintenance, replacing Mark Chantigny. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Moves us on to the superintendent's report.
All right, good evening, everybody. The first piece was the adult education grant, which got taken care of as a presentation. For those watching at home, just a reminder that snow days, we've had one already. It's very important to be signed up, whether that be from Reach My Teach or making sure that the cell phone numbers change or email addresses change, that things are updated, because if not, we can't get that message out to you. The process is always phone call, Facebook, Twitter at the same time, and then that email will come out all in one. So several different places to look if you have questions. I want to just draw our attention back to the Press Herald prior to Thanksgiving, where Shelley Kane, our Director of Community Outreach and Development and President of the Biddeford Education Foundation, for making the top 10 Mainers to be thankful for. We're really lucky to have Shelley in the school department for all she does for our community. So I know Shelley's sitting in the back, so just again, thank you, Shelley, for all the hard work. I also want to thank the Pharaoh's House for their generous $1,000 donation to the Biddeford Education Foundation to fight food insecurity. The ladies of Fotini and Saco for their generous donation of 11 bags of winter clothing and boots for kids throughout the district. I want to thank Maine Public Radio for their donation of 15 instruments to BIS, and an organization called Music Drives Us for their $1,000 donation towards the BHS band program. And then also thank the Biddeford Saco Rotary Club, the University of so the Saco Biddeford Rotary Club sponsors nearly 200 students for Christmas time, which is a huge amount. And then we also have the University of New England and the National Honor Society, who additional drives for toys, for tots, and for families in need. So there's a lot going on there. This Monday, we're honored again to be hosting Reese Across America on their escort to Arlington. The presentation offered students a meaningful opportunity to hear directly from veterans, community leaders about service, sacrifice, and the importance of remembrance. I was proud of our students as they lined the streets, waving flags. And if you'd like to volunteer laying wreaths this coming Saturday, the 13th, the National Wreaths Across America Day, please visit their website for locations. Additionally, as we kind of sat here tonight and listened to BIS singers, we had 2 choruses at the middle school that performed for us. One was our kind of like 6th and 7th grade chorus that probably had well over 100 kiddos in it. And then we had a 5th grade chorus that also probably had 75 kids. So you were looking at like a third of your school involved in chorus. So clearly the music department there is doing something right to have many kids being involved. Reminder for everyone that this is probably one of the longest possible winter breaks based on the calendar you could ever have, from the 19th to the 5th. And so we'll be out of school at a holiday vacation for that. One of the things we'll do here on the school department side is we'll really try to cut back heat because it is an extended period, unless we see in the forecast some really cold nights, and then we wouldn't obviously risk it because it takes a little bit of a power outage and the buildings freeze up quickly. And then, other than that, that's what I have for tonight.
Thank you. Questions for Superintendent Ray? That will bring us to student representative reports, starting with Cordelia.
Okay, so the BHS Student Council Thanksgiving Food Drive was able to feed 110 families in Biddeford, Saco, and Dayton. On Saturday, students from the Girls Ice Hockey Team, National Honor Society, and Interact Club will lay wreaths at St. Mary's and St. Joseph cemeteries to participate in National Wreaths Across America. The NHS Club also raised over $800 during a bake sale to help the victims of the fire this summer. The money raised went to members shopping for winter clothes for the families. Girls and boys basketball opened their seasons with Sanford on Friday, and the boys ice hockey co-op played Cape Elizabeth yesterday. Yesterday we also had the girls' first indoor track meet of the season. Girls' ice hockey game had a Cassidy Pettit Memorial game on Saturday, raising $1,300 in her memory, which will be donated to My Place Teen Center in her honor.
Thank you. Marcus?
Our Beat a Change team gave out hot cocoa and candy canes to raise some holiday spirit this morning. Next week is our school spirit day, where every day of the week we have a fun little event we do to show our school spirit. We also had Seed visit us yesterday, Students Empowered to End Dependency, where they shared their stories of substance use and the resources they used. Our band and indoor color guard have started practice, and there's a chorus concert tonight where they'll be selling baked goods to raise money for the band and indoor color guard. Cordelia and I would also like to congratulate and welcome Mayor LaFountain, as well as new school committee members, and we can't wait to work with you guys.
Thank you, Marcus. Thank you, Cordelia. Any questions for either of the student representatives? Superintendent Ray.
One more thing that I want to mention to make sure we get out on air that I didn't in my superintendent's report is that the vocational center is working with Age Friendly Biddeford and will be taking over the filling of the sand buckets for people. That's kind of an important one, and they volunteered to step up and help that organization.
Thank you. That takes us to new business. A, Cohort 3 CDS transition to public schools.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, I missed one. Thank you, Michelle. That takes us to committee reports. Michelle.
Just to let you know, policy will be meeting on February 11th at 4 p.m. right in the room outside of Little Theater, and we have 13 policies that we're hoping to get to all of them. We'll get to as many as we can. So February 11th, anybody's welcome.
Thank you. Any other committee reports? Then we'll take it to new business and back to Superintendent Ray.
All right, good evening. So for school committee members who have served before and for maybe some who are aware, last year there's a memo in your packet about the transition in law that public schools will handle eventually service for all 3 and 4-year-olds that have CDS or special services. Next year will be the 3rd year of the transition for schools. In the first couple of years, we are a little bit different here in Biddeford than, say, a rural school that maybe has 200 kids total in their school, and you're going to see an additional growth of, say, 2 or 3 kiddos. That's probably not that big of a deal for a school department to bring on. Here in Biddeford, we're looking at a situation where we'll probably be servicing somewhere between 75 to 150 once 3-year-olds are on board, providing special services for kiddos. So this is a little bit bigger of a challenge than adding a couple of kids when you have plenty of space, lower numbers anyway. What we are here tonight kind of to ask for, and this is all stuff that we've worked out with the Department of Education, is that funding for 3 and 4-year-old programming will come outside of your traditional school funding formula. We worked hard to make sure that that happened because we never wanted to put any board in the state of Maine in a place where they would be making decisions about their pre-K through 12 district, and say a boiler breaks in the middle of winter and they're looking for funds to possibly dip into funding that was kind of earmarked for special services. So much like title funds or grant funds, we will be receiving funds from the state of Maine that will sit in a pocket of funds that is earmarked directly for this program. That number will not necessarily be 100% predictable because it's based on student counts, and as you will have kids through an entire year be turning 3 or 4 years old, they will be coming on board, and you will then receive an adjustment in students. Right now, it looks like probably each year we would have somewhere between $1.25 to $1.75 million available for us for this programming. We've worked with the DOE and this piece to think about, for larger school districts like ours who are starting up, that they're actually allowing us to access funding early, what would have been available during this current year for us to hire a coordinator and some support, because you're going to have to start getting all of those records into your system. You're going to have to start looking at IEPs, lining up dates, and so they're allowing us to access funds. What we would like to do is access those funds from the Department of Education to start planning for this transition, whether that be for purchasing of equipment or stuff that we would need prior to September, but to also have a funded position to start doing this work, because our current special education department with almost 500 students does not have the capacity just to add on another 150. And these could be therapies, not necessarily in the school, but this could be providing speech therapy, this could be OT, this could be whatever services, social work, whatever that a child might need as we move forward. So that's kind of our request, is to be able to have a motion to start accessing these funds so that we can start preparing before we offer the service.
Thank you. Any questions for the superintendent? Michelle?
So we were looking at, so fall of 2026, we'd have 4-year-olds, so theoretically, we'd add 3-year-olds the following year?
That is correct.
Okay. And are they, you said something about outside the school, would they all be housed in our buildings, or would we be sometimes sending people to homes or to other places?
We could be sending students to homes, to their daycares.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
To whatever their placement is.
So we're not necessarily having to find a place for 150 students to fit
Correct.
somewhere? Okay, thank you.
Megan?
So you're
And then
looking to hire right now exactly what, a coordinator position and then an administrative support staff?
Correct.
So those two positions are what you're
Correct.
gonna- okay.
And the department will allow us to access funds that would have been available for us this year for that. So you can't say no cost locally because we all paid taxes to the state of Maine, but nothing that would come out of this year's school budget.
Amy?
That answers my question. Thank you.
Thank you. So Superintendent Ray, you're looking for a motion, or at a future meeting you'll be looking for a motion?
I'd be looking for a motion because I want to be able to post that position as we come back, as we get in before the holidays, so that we can come back and look at the hiring piece, get this in place, and start sorting through the IEPs that we'd be ready for next year.
Thank you. Do we? Megan, and then Amy, and then Marie.
So you're gonna hire this person like hopefully soon, and then, cause I also see here you wanna assess our spaces. So are you looking at finding a space within the district for these students?
Well,
I'm loud enough, I don't think I need it down that close. Oh, sorry, I'll be louder, okay. And then I also see like, so, and then we have to develop community partners and the seamless transition, so, you know, in a lot of these IEPs, we're gonna be talking about additional speech and language pathologists, OTs, PTs. So I guess I'm wondering, like, you know, you're asking right now for a coordinator and an administrative assistant, but are you anticipating needing more positions on board before our next budget year in order to get this up and going, and then a space to start?
I'm just gonna say, I don't know what I don't know.
Okay,
Meaning that I think some of it is to figure out what's coming and how we're going to provide those services, whether some of those will be contracted services, what will those services look like. We have a budget process where we will have conversations about, do we add additional pre-K classrooms? So there's a lot of other decisions that will need to be made before we make some of these full decisions.
so this is your first ask, and I'm just wondering, like, if you access funds now, is this like a one-time draw, or you can access a little bit and then say,
So I'm
okay, I
gonna,
need
well,
more?
obviously, what I'm gonna ask them is probably for more ask the DOE for more than I anticipate they'll need, so that throughout the years, as we come up to something, we'll say, I'll have to work with them and say, yep, we're gonna do this next, we're gonna do this next, we're gonna do this next. So that's what we'd be looking at. And then you'll have a subsidy piece that will just come monthly in the future as you build your budget for next year, which will be outside of the regular school budget. So it's a little bit different than the voting process that we do, because these will be district positions but not funded with local dollars.
So, you're gonna ask for more than you need. We're approving right now a coordinator and a support staff.
Yep.
When you need to access these funds for more things, does that still come through us, or once you have the money, then you can post whatever positions you want? Like,
Well, it would be for positions, because we'd be hiring. I mean, if we know that we need X curriculum materials or numbers of desks, we would just be going to the DOE for classroom setup, let's say. Because we know we're gonna need certain things. We may need, certain communication devices that kiddos may have, or a kiddo might need a certain stander or something like that. That would just be under our supply account type of ordering process.
Amy?
Yeah, I'm ready to make your motion. I just want to make sure that I understand. I'm kind of with Megan here, trying to understand whether we're making this once to say we give Jeremy carte blanche authority to access these DOE funds as he needs them, or are you just asking for a more limited motion for the positions?
I'm just looking for the positions right now. I've
Okay.
still got a lot of work to do with the DOE, but I'm gonna be asking them to access, several $100,000 of our allotment in case I need any of those other things I talked about.
Okay.
Marie?
No, that answered my question.
Emily?
Just a question about the population of students. If they're coming from CDS, does that mean that they will already have diagnoses, or will the school system be also doing evaluations? And if so, are those going to be done by the existing staff, or will we be looking for outside evaluations?
So, some will come with IEPs already in place, and then it will be our responsibility to pick up the FAPE obligations for all of these students, which means that our staff will not be doing this. This will be additional work when we're fully up and running. This is basically us taking CDS.
Amy?
If there are no other questions, then I'll make the motion to approve these positions and access to the funds as needed to set up the program.
Second?
Second from Marie. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Takes us to Childcare Employee Survey Memo. Superintendent Ray?
So one of the things that we've kind of had on our radar screen for a while, as we look at our ability to recruit and retain staff, has always been the question around daycare and high-quality daycare. So we sent out a survey to all staff members between Biddeford, Saco, and Dayton to think about, okay, is this something that we could offer as a region independently as a school department? How would it all work? And our responses were quite high. And so we provided you guys with the data for this piece, and we have employees who definitely would be interested in a district-wide child care center here that would line up with their school days. No different than what other businesses do. A few school departments, Falmouth does it already, and some others. And so I think while this is what I'm asking here tonight, is whether you want us to continue to work on this or not, because this takes up some time. We're not here promising a daycare facility. We're not here knowing what the cost and the math or all of that would be. It's more highlighting for Biddeford, is this something that you would want us to spend some time on trying to develop for our employees, and or not necessarily our employees. It may then also be for city employees as well, depending on, not everything will work out. I was actually kind of surprised that probably the need that people talked about is probably way greater than we could initially handle. But it would be a step in the right direction. And I know it hasn't been that long since I had kids in daycare, but boy, people paying $400 a week for 2 kiddos. I mean, we've got to do something.
Marie?
I mean, A, there just aren't enough daycares. B, they're extremely expensive. Not only do I see that as a benefit for our young staff with children, but I also see it as a potential in the hiring of future employees that we have, a program like that in place. So I think it would behoove us to continue to explore the information, gather data, see what other schools who have this up and running are doing and how they're doing it. I know I've got a lot of young people living on our street now, and what they're paying it's insane, but essential. And so I think, whatever we can do to, help our staff, and whatever we can do to potentially have something that is an attraction for potential future staff, I think is a no-brainer for me.
Megan?
You had 28 respondents out of how many staff in Biddeford that you sent this out to?
So I sent this out to everybody because obviously I just sent it out to the entire staff. We had plenty of respondents who said they didn't need it because their kids were grown. And we had plenty of respondents who said, my kids are grown, but boy, would this been nice. But you have 28 people who would be interested in Biddeford right now of thinking about, if this was offered, having their kiddos here, whether that be 1 or 2 kiddos.
Emily?
This is, I have a personal connection. Obviously, I have young children, but I am also a certified teacher who left the profession because of my children. If this had been in place, I would probably still be in the classroom, which is pretty wild to think about. I think that not only, now I work in teacher certification nationally, and not only would this, I think, definitely be a draw for talent coming to the district, but I think it would also help retain current staff. I think it would also incentivize and boost morale for those parents who are giving everything to their children in their classrooms and then going home and giving the rest to their children in their homes. That is a very, very difficult thing to do, and I think that this is, if we can do this for our teachers and maybe our city employees as well, I think it is well worth it.
Well, I think it's one of those things, Emily, that, like, so you taught all day, and let's just pretend this scenario was working. And let's say you were a teacher at Biddeford Primary School or at the middle school. We'll go to middle school because I know you taught middle school. But to think that you could possibly pick up your child at BIS and go directly home or to the grocery store or whatever versus fighting traffic to wherever this facility is, it's like another hour a day in your life. And I go back to thinking when my wife and I were both in Westbrook, and she was at the middle school and I was at Central Office Canal School, and our daycare was in Westbrook on the other side of Westbrook, and it was like a full 45 minutes just driving, plus having the conversation with the daycare provider, and you had an hour in that. And it would just be, I think it would just be a great benefit for kiddos, teachers, and staff. And there's a lot to do on this, like a ton. But if we want to go down, I don't want to do something and go down a pathway and then just be like, yeah, we're not interested in that.
Something I would also like to think about is the potential benefit to nursing mothers. A lot of our staff are women. They get maybe 3 months of leave if they use their sick days. Yep. And the potential to have your infant in the building that you teach in or nearer than across town to allow for lunchtime feedings or that kind of thing would be enormous. And I think we'd see a lot fewer staff members taking that year off maybe and then not coming back, or taking the summer and not returning.
Michelle?
I think this is a fantastic idea for all of the reasons that Emily just said. One of the questions I have is, you mentioned potential locations, and I know this is early stages, a lot more research to do. Are you thinking, in looking at those two locations, that we could combine Biddeford, Saco, and Dayton and do this in one or two buildings? It wouldn't be like a site at Biddeford, a site at Saco, that we might be able to combine it, or are you looking separate?
Ideally, separate. But we may have to start slow. Mandy, Meg, and I met with DHHS, and the rules around what needs to be done code-wise, I would have a little bit more work to do in Biddeford than I would in Saco, because we have, I'm presenting to their board tonight that if we had a space, it's a newer space that is easily converted. We have a space here that can be converted. It just, because it's in one of our other school buildings, we have to be careful about what part of that is for DHHS and childcare and what's for educational purposes. A little bit more to learn on that piece. And then our thoughts being that Dayton staff would probably access one of the two, because typically they're either coming from this direction or not. And really the people who are probably going to access it the most are people who can't find daycare and driving away from us before they come back. We would need to think about lottery systems and how do we start small and all of those pieces, and just trying to figure out how we would do this at the lowest possible break-even cost. Because again, in either of the locations in either district, the light's on, the heat's on, the internet's already provided, the phone's already there, and when you think about running your own child care facility, if you can eliminate all those overhead costs and only look at employment costs, you can, I believe we could bring that down significantly.
Thank you.
Amy?
Yeah, I mean, this would be hugely beneficial, not just to the school system, but I think if we did have the capacity to expand this out to city staff, we all know that it's hard to attract staff to any place simply because of the difficulty of cost of living, finding housing, making it all work. And so I think if you see an opportunity to broaden this out to them, like make them carry some of the administrative burden of figuring it out too. And then potential synergies for kids too, for high school students to take an internship where they learn how to work at a preschool. Like this is all synergy all day long. Let's do it.
And I think it would also, just for newer board members who are here tonight, I just want to, and others have heard this, I just want to go back to a conversation of our recruitment efforts for teachers would probably change slightly, as we have been very focused on attracting people to Biddeford, but our roadblock with kiddos coming out of school is one thing: rent. And they've told Chris, they're like, yeah, we don't want to go spend $2,400 a month and have 3 roommates when we can go to Central Maine or Bangor area and just buy a house. And so our recruitment would now probably shift slightly, as this being like right out front there, like, look what we have to offer. And you'd be looking at those families coming around, and a lot of times then kids then also come to your district, stay in your district, those types of things.
Other questions for the superintendent? Or discussion on this item? Emily?
You may not know the answer to this, and obviously things would start slowly, but would this be, if we did, say, a lottery early on, would this be available to all school staff? Because there are many, it sounds like there's a difficulty getting substitute teachers, getting lunch aides, getting janitorial staff, not just teachers, but all of the support staff that it takes to make a school run. I know that it's hard to, right now, just find a warm body to be in a room with students, which is not ideal. That's not what we don't want, just a warm body, right? And so this, I think, could eliminate a lot of stress and difficulty on the administrative side. or maybe just swap it out for different stress and difficulty, but help those people fill the positions, help the administrative staff fill the positions that need filling, and help keep our kids, fed and their classrooms clean.
I think that we would need to offer this to all you'd have to say, no matter what position you are in the district, it would be for our full-time positions.
Yeah.
I think also, again, I suspect the need will outpace our capacity.
Yes.
Initially. It would be great if there was a point in time where we were looking at any individual who said, boy, I could really fill that position for you if I had childcare. And probably if 4 of those were bus drivers, we'd be like, okay.
Right, exactly.
Here you
Yeah.
go. You're coming to the front of the line. But I think that's some of that's just gonna have to be like, okay, we gotta build this thing, and then we'll figure out some of the details along the way.
I do have one more thing, I think.
Megan?
I think one of the most important things is I think it's great for you to move forward in looking at this. I think, one of the pieces that's gonna be really interesting, you said there's other schools that are already doing this. And I'd love to hear more from them. And so I don't know if you're willing to create like a subcommittee to look at this, because this is a pretty big undertaking to take something like this on. And I see all the benefits, but then I also think, okay, so what happens if you have a kid enrolled in your daycare and we have to terminate a staff? Like, do we terminate that child's, right, but then now you have a spot taken up from a kid who's not a staff. There's and the liability pieces that we'd be taking on, and so I love this idea, but I want my mind eased, I think, a little bit about like how some of those logistical pieces going, and some other schools have already figured those things out. So if you're, going to, where'd you say had it, York?
Falmouth.
Falmouth. And we could either, get some information, or you formed a subcommittee and we tease some of these things out. I think that would be like a nice next way to go. I know there's a ton of work to do about it, but like you have focus groups coming next, it looks like, to kind of identify the need. And so maybe that's something some of us could join.
Yep.
So that we could really get a sense of,
I
'cause I
know.
do think that this attracts new teachers, but it doesn't attract the fresh out of college teacher, because they're not thinking that far ahead. So we're, so I'd like to hear from the people that we have, and
Yeah, I mean, I think the next piece that we had planned to do was to look at the people who responded to the survey.
yeah.
And I just need to sit down there and first I need to hear from them before we can start creating. I want to know what's the price pinch point? Like, what would really make a difference? Like, what's our goal? Like, say, people answered between 250 and 400. Like, okay, if we could get that to 200, what would we have to do?
Nobody's just paying $250. I paid more than that for
No,
just
$250 a
after
week.
school care.
A week.
Right, I know.
Yeah.
Nobody's paying $250 a week for childcare, unless it's just after school care.
That's the surveys, there was a range
Yeah.
of 250, and so, but someone may be working at an in-home that
Yeah.
has someone next
I mean,
door.
daycare's expensive, I agree.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we have to find some details from our staff and learn a little bit more, like what their wants, needs, before you can put, because at some point, this will end up on a spreadsheet that becomes a mathematical formula that says, what can you do this for? What do you need to hire? What are those pieces? And is it even possible? I don't know if it's even possible.
Right.
Do you need a motion for us to tell you that, that you can continue?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I think our piece is we didn't want to waste a bunch of time and then come here and be like, yeah, we're not interested in that.
So you just want a sense from us that we are agreeing with this position?
We're going to make a motion.
There's no position.
No
It's just
position,
making a motion
just a
to
motion to
continue
continue.
investigation.
I'm ready to make that motion.
Second.
That we that we allow our central office staff to continue to do the research and necessary work in potentially securing childcare programming within the district.
Motion and a
Second.
second. Any discussion?
My only discussion, because I'm for this, I just would want to make sure that we're like kept in the loop all along the way and not just at the end when the bundle's here, say like, this is it, right? So my discussion piece would be that.
And Superintendent, do you have a timeline for when you would be producing this work? And is it something that will coincide with our budget coming up in a few months, or is this off-budget item where you'll
My
be
guess
pursuing?
is that you probably are gonna be off budget, because you're not gonna wanna commingle these funds with a budget item, because you're gonna be looking at trying to run this at a break-even cost. There's also really no cost center to report to the DOE around a child care piece. And so we've gotta figure out like revenues, expenses, sitting over here. You know, like one of the pieces that would be great education for our staff is, I don't know how many of our staff who have childcare are actually using tax-free benefits. So if, you know, I think it's 5,000 we can put away for, looking around and no one's got the kiddos right there, but I believe it's 5,000 that you can put away for that. Like, how do we make sure that we make that easy for staff? Like, there's that piece of it. You take, you know, we want to make sure everyone's taking care of all of those pieces. We've got to run that in a cost center that's sitting out here somewhere and not in the school budget.
Thank you. Other discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. And that takes us to another presentation on the Maine Integrated Youth Health Survey.
Okay, so Mandy will be coming up to do a presentation. We received our results for the Maine Integrated Youth Health Survey. You can see in the 3 links below all of the questions and all of the raw data for each group that you can look at, but Mandy's pulled out some of the information to present to you guys as a board. Administrators met yesterday during our admin leadership team meetings to kind of go through this. They'll then be pulling out certain parts that are either interesting, concerns, happy about, things that we can make a difference on fairly quickly, or study more, and then coming back and you'll get another update about what are we going to focus on here as a school department, because obviously there's some of them have 60+ questions and we're not going to change all of them, but what are the ones that we feel that we can move the needle on a little bit. So turn it over to Mandy.
Thank you very much. So the Maine Integrated Youth Health Survey is a survey that's administered every odd year. It's given to students in grades 5 through 12. There are some questions that are the same through all of them, the same question idea, and that allows us to really think about how students are impacted over time. There are other questions that are very specific to the age group, questions that we might ask a high school student. We may not be asking the same question to a 5th grader. So what you can see up here, we've had equal sort of participation from all of those grade levels, which is great. Everything in here, students are self-reporting. So it is up to them how they perceive the question to be and how they choose to answer the question. In addition, all of the results are confidential. When we look at the data, we're often saying, how can we connect these dots together? And, you know, if students aren't having enough fruits and vegetables, how do we fight adolescent obesity? Are those connected? Are they the same kids answering the same way? That's part of the data that we don't have. We wish we did, but we don't. So we have to take this as a snapshot in time, a generalization of how our students feel about themselves in terms of the questions that are being asked of them. So this slide here really points out a couple of big things. We've seen it over time how our community has changed, right? And one of the things that's really important when we look at the 2025 data, the number of students that we have that speak a different language at home has drastically increased. So our community is changing. We know that. Our student population is changing. We need to just be mindful of that as we look through some of this data, because certainly how we meet the needs of some of these students is going to be different than perhaps how we would have had addressed some of these questions 10 years ago. So the first section we want to look at is mental health. I tried to set this up where the blue bars, the first two blue bars, those ones are going to be in 2023. It's always going to be the high school, or excuse me, the Biddeford students responding versus the state. And then 2025, the school responding, and then the state. So you can see over time how those are connected. So this question focuses on percentage of students that were physically active at least 60 minutes per day for the last 5 days. Again, it's up to the student to determine that. And when we look at the red arrows, we can see that with our youngest kids, grades 5, 6, and 7, 8, we've really increased in those areas. That is definitely an area of strength for us. And then we look at our grades 9 through 12, where we're seeing a slight decrease. So again, that's a question. What's going on? Why is there a decrease in that particular group? Biddeford students are coming in across the board slightly below the state average for physical activity. We definitely want to continue looking at that. We've had last year and the year before on the board a lot of discussion about after-school extracurricular activities. How can we involve more students by offering different things? So certainly that's something that we're still going to be focusing on and looking at across the board. Next piece, physical health. This was something that was specifically asked to our high school students in terms of obesity and how they view themselves. Still in the area of physical health, 37.3% of our students in grades 9 through 12 fall into the overweight or obese category, and that's above the 85th percentile. It's notably higher than the state average of 32.3%. And then we look at 59.9 of our high school students are at a healthy weight, which again is a little bit low in comparison to that statewide average. This data suggests that we look at our nutrition education, we look at our physical education, we look at our extracurricular activities. We can look at a whole myriad of things to try to combat these numbers and help our students. Dental care. 1 out of 5 students in grades 5 and 6 are not visiting the dentist during a 12-month period. It's a whole year. Shifting to dental health is really important when we think about this. How do we provide access to those services? Something that's quite basic for all students. Something that we can look at and something that we can change. Access to dental care is an important health indicator. We all know that dental health in particular connects to overall health, how our body functions, how our brain works, how our muscles work, etc. Even more concerning is possibly this next slide. 24.7% of students self-reported that they've missed school because of problems with their teeth. And specifically in the survey, that's not for a filling or to get a sealant put on. It is for something bigger, pain, abscess. When nearly a quarter of our young students are missing school because of dental issues, this is definitely something that we need to look at and address. Part of the conversation is, are there community partners that we can lean on? That's some of the work that we need to do. Screen time continues to be a challenge nationwide. Biddeford is no exception to that. 57.6% of students in 5th and 6th grade report spending at least 3 hours on screens during the average school day. And that doesn't include schoolwork. So it's the things that they're doing during a Monday through Friday outside of school, reporting at least 3 hours. The good news is, and this is something that I definitely want to celebrate, this has decreased since 2023. 2023, it was 68.6%. Yet, there's still work to do. We're still above the state average of 52.9%, and quite frankly, I don't know if anybody's asking me, but I still think that's too high, right? I still think we have an option or an opportunity to be even lower than that state average. Digital wellness and healthy screen habits remain very important to help families navigate. Nutrition tends to be a mixed story, which I alluded to earlier. Chart shows percentage of students eating 5 servings of fruits and vegetables per day. The positive news, if we look at those red arrows that change from 2023 to 2025, we've definitely done better, right? We've done our work. We still have a lot of room to grow. We are still below the state average in all 3 grade level bands. And then if you look at this really closely, or maybe far away, you can see our youngest kids, they're getting their fruits and vegetables each day. Our high school kids are not reporting that. So what's happening there? Have you had your fruits and vegetables? All right, checking in. Next one, substance use and prevention. This table provides an overview of substance use among our students. I want to note that the dashes indicate the data was suppressed because the N was too small. We can't report out on that, which is a good sign. For alcohol use, 6.6% of our 5th and 6th grade students report ever having tried alcohol. That's the lifetime alcohol use. 8.5% for middle school and 30.7% of high school students. Current alcohol use, which according to the survey means within the past 30 days. So that's the difference between those numbers. 4.4% for elementary, 10.1% for high school. Marijuana paints a little bit of a different picture. Lifetime use as 4.1% for middle school and 20.6% for our high school students. Current use, 10.9%. These numbers remind us that prevention education needs to start early and continue throughout the students' academic careers. Electronic vape usage. Vaping continues to be an area of focus. In grades 5 and 6, 5% of students report using electronic vapes, which is above the state average of 4%. However, I want to highlight significant improvement here. This is down dramatically from 12.4% in 2023. In middle school, we're at 8.1%, which is below the state average of 10.4%, and the high school level is 23.9% compared to 26.1% at the state level, which is also below. The decrease in elementary vaping is encouraging and suggests our prevention efforts are having an impact. Mental health. This slide shows the percentage of students who identify as LGBTQ+ at Biddeford Middle School. 14.3% of students identify, which is below the state average of 17.1%. At Biddeford High School, 22.6% of students identify, which is slightly above the state average of 21.2%. This data is really important for ensuring we're providing appropriate support and creating inclusive environments for all of our students.
Mandy, I want to, this number went down from prior years of reporting, and that concerns me because I'm concerned about if kiddos are not reporting. I don't believe that there's a change in population. I believe that we would probably have under-reporting based off fear and/or anxiety based off the pressures that we experience socially right now. And so I just want to, that one the other day struck me that as concerning, because it will then go back to some of our other mental health pieces that we need to be concerned about.
Megan.
Who categorizes the LGBT?
Bullying rates show a mixed picture. At the elementary level, 45.7% of students report being bullied, which is actually below the state average of 48.2%. At the high school level, we're also below average, 20.7 compared to the 21.3 statewide. However, our middle school numbers are concerning. 63.6% of our 7th and 8th grade students, reminder 8th grade is at the high school, report being bullied, well above the state average of 50.4%. This has also increased from 57.9% in 2023.
Emily.
Do you know if the survey defines bullying on the survey?
I don't remember, but if you look at the actual raw data, it would tell you that within that category. I don't want to misguide
It's
you.
attached as an.
Okay, great, thank you.
Looking at cyberbullying specifically, the red arrows show that Biddeford has seen decreases across all grade levels from 2023 to 2025. At the elementary level, we've dropped from about 30% to around 27%. Middle school has decreased from 40% to 37%, though we remain above the state average. High school shows the most improvement, dropping from 18% to 17%, which is now at or slightly below the state average. While any bullying is too much, the downward trend is certainly encouraging. This slide shows the percentage of students who report having had sexual intercourse. In grades 7 and 8, 4.2% of Biddeford students report this, compared to 6% statewide. We are below the state average. At the high school level, 32.1% report, also below the state average of 33.6. So now that we're looking at all of this data, and again, this is just a high-level overview, these are some of the next steps. We've met with the leadership team like Superintendent Ray. We've begun the discussions. They will have the raw data in their hands. We're going to get our support teams together, and we have to take this data and really identify which aspects of it that we are going to focus our time on. Our resilience coordinators, our social workers, our counselors, nurses, that's our mental health piece, and they're going to be focusing on that area. We're going to look at our current programming and see where we can make adjustments to better meet the needs of the students that we serve based on the data we've received here.
Michelle.
Thank you for putting this together, because I looked at the raw data and it's a lot, so thank you for putting into slides. Quick question on the dental part. Do we still, I think when my children were in elementary, I thought we had dental care come in.
We do.
So we still do, but we still have that many children not seeing a dentist?
Yes.
Okay.
Other questions? Emily.
Do the schools capture data on what students' healthcare access is like at all, with how many students are getting main care and that kind of thing? Like, do we know what barrier they have access-wise to dental care?
We would know of some barriers, not probably all of them.
Marie.
Mandy and I spoke earlier, and one of the things that I think we can do as a community overall, not just within the school district, but as a whole as a community, especially with our very changing and diverse demographic population that we have, is finding a way to get resource availability out to the stakeholders and the people within the community. You know, how to access it. We're probably dealing with some kids who don't, and families who don't know how to access any of the resources that we might have that can impact, you know, some of these children. And we spoke earlier about the importance of dental care because it impacts your overall health from digestion to name it. I mean, everything with, you know, infection and, you know, it's extremely important. So getting some of those programs back in play, maybe using the resources we have with UNE back in and letting them, you know, be able to come in and service our students and get educational benefit, you know, and time spent, you know, with a very diverse population with regards to, you know, seeing our kids with regards to dental care. So I think there are some things that we probably, you know, can go after that would be awesome, but, you know, how do we, for me, the big one is just the resource availability to the stakeholders and those families. You know, how do we reach them both as a community and a school as to where they can go and for what and why and its importance. So I think, you know, that's an area we can ratchet up.
Megan and then Amy.
I do want to say, you know, again, this is very, very valuable information, and I really appreciate it. And so I agree that the healthcare information is important, but like the things that stuck out to me, and probably as a social worker, the things that stuck out to me were the substance abuse and the more safety-oriented ones. And so then I think about what we're already doing, and I think I just want to give credit to like what's already being done. You know, this week my kids had a series of assemblies that they, you know, got pulled out of academic time for. So there was the SEED, and I don't know what the acronym's for, but it's a substance abuse psychoeducation program that they had. And so, you know, I think at their grade level that, you know, that's important. And I don't think that all schools think to say like, well, geez, we're going to sacrifice this 35 minutes of academic time because the priority right now is that, you know, our numbers look like this when it comes to substance abuse. We're going to take this time to have this. So I agree that there are important next steps that need to happen, but I just want to acknowledge like important steps are already happening. That psychoeducation for the kids in the building is happening. And so, you know, the dental partners do come in and that's important, but some of these other pieces, you know, they're a big deal. So great job.
Yeah, I want to echo that and say, holy smokes, what a lot of data, and thank you for breaking it down for us. And overall, these were really good trend lines. As you move into next steps, I cannot agree with you more that while the state averages are an important benchmark, it's still too high for how many kids are being bullied and having a bad time in whatever horrible way they're having a bad time. And so wherever we can do the best work, state or no state, let's do the best work, and thank you.
Emily.
Yes, second to all of that. Thank you for this incredible info. I'm curious, when there are opportunities like SEED, will you tell me what the acronym is?
Yeah, it's Students Empowered to End Diplomacy.
Dependency.
The dependency,
I was
sorry,
like,
not diplomacy.
Diplomacy,
I'm sorry.
I got that all wrong.
When students empowered to end dependency come to the school, is there any follow-up with the students on their impressions of that? Like, are those things effective? Are we, right, like, in teacher world, when we do a professional development seminar, it's important to take data on, was this effective, was this helpful, did you know, were you just looking at the clock waiting for this to be done and it felt terrible, or was this beneficial? And I'm curious to know students' impressions of things like SEED. When that happens, do we do surveys for students? Yes?
We do.
Yes, after the seed presentation, we went back into our advisory classes, and we had a little presentation, and our class talked about like what things stood out to us, stuff like that. And then we also had a Google form that we filled out with a bunch of different questions about the presentation.
That's awesome. I would be really interested to see that data. Yeah, to understand the efficacy and just see like what did they appreciate about that the most, and how can we use that data to inform what we do next.
Any other questions or comments from the committee? Tim?
Thank you, Mandy, for putting that together. That was well done. My question, I guess, would be, considering that our 5th, 6th, and 7th grade, and then our 8th through 12th graders are in the same building, I'm wondering if, well, 6 and 7, I'm wondering if that could be, I know it's a main survey, so I'm just wondering if the data could be a little bit more reliable or more valid if we kind of pared it down to the students that were in the same building, rather than the way it was presented, like 5th and 6th, 7th and 8th, because those students aren't together anymore, and 9 and 12. I'm just wondering if the percentages would change if you broke it down from building rather than just those 4 grade levels.
That would be that's a great wondering. And
Okay.
the data isn't available to us in that format, unfortunately.
You know, Mandy, that does make a point that we could at least, we can reach out to them, because there are, I mean, if you're at, let's say, Sumner High School, okay, Sumner High School now is 5 through 12 in a new state building, like at least mentioning to them some other options that we could get, because, I mean, every small school in the state of Maine now is mixing grade levels all over the place. I'm wondering, I don't even know if they've, you know, thought about that piece. There's got to be a way, you know, but it would start with them, Tim, I think.
Any other discussion? Thank you. That will take us to the multilingual department chair stipend nomination. This, I believe we're looking for a
Here I
motion.
go again. Hi, everyone. So Chris and I did a lot of talking about the importance of having one person to oversee our multilingual education. And so this memo today is asking to provide a stipend for a current employee to do work outside of the contract day to oversee our ML staff, so that we can all be on the same page in terms of curriculum, instruction, assessment, needs of the students, needs of the program, and really be lockstep in the work that we're doing.
Thank you. Questions? Amy?
Yeah, I guess this lays out that we had talked, it was planned originally to do a half-time person. Would that have been somebody outside of the building, or relieving them of half of the work that they do in the regular day-to-day? Because I just wonder whether this is actually enough of a person's time to do a really big job.
No, it's not.
Okay, great.
The original plan was to split a position between Saco schools and Biddeford schools, but Saco's ML population halved when the hotel closed down over there, having the net effect of about 64% of those kids landing here, and us increasing our ML population to 461. So we may return to this board at budget time and talk a little bit about that piece. South Portland Schools, which went through a grievous round of cuts last fiscal year, maintains a department dedicated to educating and caring for the mental health of their ML population of 5 FTE for a population 12 greater than what we have in Biddeford. So they only have 12 more MLs than we do, and they have a whole administrative central office staff dedicated to that. So this board approved $4,000 to have someone do a couple hours of work for us each year. It's a start. I really appreciate it. I don't mean to sound ungrateful at all, but as I said to a previous board before the 4 of you were seated, if this group was a school, it would have its own principal.
Yeah, I think you can sound a little bit ungrateful, and that's okay. I'm interested to see how this works and whether that's
Yeah.
really enough, because it does feel like this is a huge priority, and having somebody running that more effectively with more of their time would enable us to get, I think, to a lot of the other issues that we're not able to get to that population on, like going to the dentist. I suspect we have some overlapping kids.
Yeah,
So-
and we're having the welcomes, we just brought on a new welcome center director. She's fantastic. That's a longer term goal that she has as well. So like if a new Maynard family comes in to register, you know, we give them a ton of time and attention. And what we discovered is that's not a one-off. That's not a one visit, 2 hours. It's a week later, I need a place to live. And then a week later, I need a place to work. And then a week later, my kid's never been to the dentist. And then a week later, I'm a victim of domestic abuse. And then a week later, my husband just got deported from the country. What do I do? You know, so it's this suite of services, kind of wraparound. And we have a fantastic new person who, so anyway, we have a transition plan for her. It's a month by month with goals and healthcare and dental care, revisiting a federally qualified healthcare center, perhaps for the community, looking at a partnership with UNE's dental school, even though it's located in Portland. Shelley Kane and I talked about that a little bit the other day. All things on the radar.
Phenomenal, thank you.
I just also want to, when you think about the Welcome Center, the board also, because of new members here, that is funded through grants.
Yep.
And so, you know, we are the third or fourth largest population of ML students here with 0 central office support other than the stipend position now. We have to begin to have those conversations. One of the things that I've been working on when we start up budget season is just the comparative teacher to student or staff to student ratio here in Biddeford versus other communities. And you'd be really surprised when you see the data when it's time to roll that out.
There is a high price of low cost here. I'd encourage you to Google Lewiston School Department, Department of Justice, 2021, when they reached a settlement agreement with the DOJ that required them, because of a lack of services for their MLs, to hire a slew of new staff and adopt a very prescriptive curriculum for that subset of students. It's about a 34-page read. You could feed it into AI and get a one-page summary, and I think it would be eye-opening for you as a board.
Marie and then Emily.
First of all, I think it's a place to start, and we need to
Yep.
start somewhere.
Yep.
And then I think it's going to be real important going into the budget season to really give this a really good look because of our increasing numbers within this demographic group. The importance for me, as we discussed in a prior meeting, is the continuity and the consistency that this person can bring to this population and its education. And I think it's extremely important that we have someone that's tying everything up in a nice bundle, rather than here, there, and everywhere where it could potentially be. So I think this position is important, and as we look forward, as our numbers, I'm sure, will continue to grow, as they have continued to grow, that we give this a good hard look, and I'm ready to make a motion when.
Today's a good example of that, Marie. So your assistant superintendent, your primary school principal sat with 2 ML teachers for an hour this morning reviewing curricular materials. And then this afternoon, your assistant superintendent, your director of innovation, those 6 staff members in that building sat on a call with a vendor for 2 hours looking at curricular materials. And Mandy and I, an hour afterwards, talking about, well, does this make sense? Well, I don't know that I have enough expertise to say it does. And how do we work with Megan? And what's Megan want for Biddeford Primary? And is what she wants what's best practice? And smart lady, not a dummy, don't have the answers just because we weren't trained in this. And so few people outside of, there's nobody outside of the classroom in this district that has that training. None of our building principals have that training. And so we need some greater expertise and some bandwidth, I think.
And I think that, as a whole, will assist every staff member throughout the
100%.
district. So it's not just this one thing. It has a whole domino effect throughout the district and our staff.
Yeah, you're a bio teacher and you've got a sophomore class with 24 kids and 8 of them don't speak English. What's your strategy?
After Emily, I'd like to go.
Emily and then Megan.
Sorry, I was going to ask so this position, the goal would be to try to bring a curricular focus, a more central curricular focus to the whole districts. Like, is the idea that we are trying to find a person who can purchase a program and understand what needs to be purchased, and then that can be applied kindergarten through 12? Or is the goal to find a person who can design something themselves, maybe a combination of the two? And what does it look like? What does this person's stipended work look like, I guess, is my question.
Yes, and.
Okay.
So Mandy and I received a memo from this person this morning already. She had a meeting with 2 people in the Ed department at University of New England about bringing them on next year to do a series of professional development opportunities for our teachers who are struggling to reach these learners, right? So professional development is a bucket. Helping Mandy and I are in the middle of making our budget right now. That's a not insignificant number. Making decisions in a vertical way, right? Not just, well, I, the classroom teacher, want this kit, or BPS, the school, wants this kit, but what makes sense to follow kids up vertically, right?
Mhm.
So I think a model to think about this is it's like a department chair for K-12.
Great.
And it's just been absent.
Amazing. And then is there thought, would this person kind of help move us toward more training for general ed staff?
This person was not in our vendor meeting today because she was providing training for her building.
Awesome. Yeah, I as a person who taught social studies, I'm supposed to be teaching Mesopotamia, and 10 of my 20 students don't speak English. I fully understand the need for this, and I am also in support of a motion. I'm just trying to gather more information and would be interested in helping in whatever way that I can.
So the thing that I want to say is, I've been on the board as our numbers have grown, and we've given every ask for the ML population. So I think what we continue to hear is like, it's not even a drop in the bucket. So what I'd say is, as we move into this budget season, get the team you want and present it to the board, because we keep, putting the smallest Band-Aid on, you come up and you very articulately say how, we're not even providing the most minimal amount of service. But we continue to say, like, we'll fund more, just let us know what you need. So I think that at some point, we need to be given the proposal of what you need, so that we can make a decision about how to approve that, so that we don't keep approving less than what you need.
Marie and then Amy.
I think too, not only is it important for us as a board to, collectively be looking at, we're approving, but like we did at the budget season last year, I think it's important to sit down with the city side and say, this is what's happening, this is where we're lacking, this is where we need assistance, this is where we need funding, this is what we need to do to get things up to snuff, to provide the best opportunity within the district. So I think that meeting we had last year, I think, was very fruitful, very productive. I would like to see more of that collaboration between the council and the school committee. And, to really, I think they do have a sense, but we need to get to where we need to be, throughout. We need, the ed techs, we need the staff, we need a coordinator. We need to really get this on board, because I think, again, it's a domino effect as to how it impacts everything, from scores to attendance to everything. So
your point about educating council is a good one, Marie. That's on me. I accepted Marty's invitation last year to talk about our 180 homeless families that we serve, and I think that was an eye-opener for some of the city council. probably the same I don't know how many of our city council know that 1 in 5 of our students doesn't speak English as a native language.
Yeah.
And I think if they came into any one of our classrooms at any grade level and saw the challenge that our teachers face in trying to reach those kids thoughtfully and you know, with authentic engagement, not just saying to a 7th grader, oh, it looks like you're having trouble reading, here's See Pug Run. You know, it's accessible, but it's not developmentally appropriate, it's not high interest, it's not engaging,
just
and then
coloring.
that kid acts out. No, you know, sit still, be quiet for 6.5 hours.
Well, amen, sister friend, to all of that. And as we look ahead to the budget, this is great to dovetail this in with the mental health data that we have, with the physical health data that we have, right? Like, we have this opportunity to tie it all together. We see the numbers, we know what we need to do, like, rock and roll. I think you have a supportive group here who would really like to greenlight some stuff, as long as it's clear how it dovetails together.
I'm going to entertain that we make a motion at this point, unless there's any other. I'm going to make a motion that we move forward with the nomination of an ML department chair stipend.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Point of clarification, Mr. Mayor, this is a named position, so the final sentence of the memo identifies Rebecca Reynolds, who's a teacher at Biddeford Intermediate School. To fill this position, you've already approved the stipend.
So I make,
You're
so I,
hiring Rebecca.
okay, so, and make an amendment to it? Do I need to amend it to add Rebecca Reynolds as the nominee for this position?
And the second? Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you. That takes us to public participation, 3-minute limit on any item. With that, I will close the, close the public participation and move on to communication, starting with Michelle.
I just want to give a shout out to the COT Culinary Department. I think Paulette has just left, but I need to send an email, and I keep forgetting to. But they did Thanksgiving pies, and I bought 2 gluten-free, which aren't always great, and they were fantastic. So much so that my husband said the chocolate cream pie tasted like his memes, and if any of you know, if you're comparing a pie to your memes, it's really good. So they were fantastic, and also I went to the Wreaths Across America ceremony, and the middle school band and chorus, fantastic. The whole ceremony was really great, a lot of fun, and I'm really excited that we had them again this year.
Marie.
I attended the Cassidy Pettit Memorial Game this past Saturday. It was very well attended. And, you know, a shout out to the girls ice hockey team and the funds they're raising through Cassidy's memory for the Student Teen Center. But I also want to say that our kids throughout this district are doing a great job in a number of fundraisers, programs, assisting. They're just out and about in the community doing awesome stuff. So to all our kids and their families that are participating out there, thank you. You guys are rocking it and, you know, giving this community a great name. And I also want to give a shout out to Heather Tremblay and Martha. I attended the PI meeting last week, and we're having great discussions, and they're just doing a great job leading some staff and kids and parents who are attending and having great discussions and really looking to make a difference here in moving things forward. So to parents at the high school, you know, we'd love to see more of you there to get engaged in this group. First Monday of every month, and keep up the good work, both of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other communication from members of the committee? I'll also add and double down on comments made about the Wreaths Across America ceremony held earlier this week. It was an honor to be there. A really well done job from the middle school, from your administration, Principal Dakota, and also want to commend Sophia and Ben, who were the master of ceremonies at that event and did an incredible job. With that, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you.